All right, so I got the Leopard's barrel cleaned up, and so now I'm going to probably start disassembling the back a little bit. Gonna have to degas it, and I really want to see what the pin probe looks like. So there isn't a whole lot of information out there on the Leopard, especially. So I'm kind of going in blind, and so hopefully I don't mess anything up. So let's do that next. All right, so the first step is going to be just to degas this, just to make it a little bit more safe. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but I don't want to blow myself up. And I say that jokingly just because I don't really know how this system works completely. So one thing I found on the Leopard, when I'm trying to take off the tank, it tends to try to back out this adapter as well. So this is the piece that goes from the tank threads to the block, and obviously it's tightened down, but the tank is really tight also. So when I try to loosen this, this ends up coming off. So the easiest way I've found to get around that is to take off this bottom picatinny piece and then put a adjustable wrench right here on the block, and then back out the tank until it's loose, and then I can kind of take it apart. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And then if anybody's curious, this was just a picatinny to Arca adapter that I had picked up on Amazon so that I could use my Arca bipod on here. And then I could also hook it up to the tripods I have because those are Arca Swiss. And so I had just put this adapter on here, and I like that system quite a bit. So just a cheap little adapter. I have gotten this brand a couple times now, and it's really solid actually. It has these nice springs that keep the picatinny locked down when you tighten it down, so it helps kind of keep that even. And it does have the little pins to prevent that from sliding off, and you can take those out if you want. So yeah, just a great little adapter. Definitely Chinese made, I'm sure, but they seems to be really solid. So I like this one quite a bit. All right, so I got that off now. So on the bottom you have these two bolts here. These are 3 mil, yeah, 3 mils. So you just back these out, and then this little picatinny piece will come off. Sorry, I'm trying to like hold up the air gun and make sure I'm still in frame and everything at once. It's kind of crazy. All right, so once you take that off, you just have this stuff down here. But what I like to do is put that adjustable wrench right here to keep this adapter in place while I loosen the bottle off. So I'm gonna go get that wrench right now. All right, so I just got this adjustable wrench, and basically all I'm doing is putting it around the block area and then just tightening it down a little bit so that I can keep it together while I back off the tank. I guess let me move the camera. So this is just how I am doing it currently. There might be a better way to do this, but this is just what I found on the fly that has worked. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm trying to keep it in frame, but also have enough leverage. So I'm trying to essentially back off the tank. So here it comes. It's going to get really loud here in a second. All right, so as you can hear, it drains the whole barrel tank of all that air. So it's quite a bit of air, so it's quite loud. So just keep that in mind when you are degassing it. So you gotta be careful though, because I have already started to nick the block right here with that wrench. So I should have probably put some like electrical tape on this or something to protect that a little bit, or a rag, but that's in hindsight now. All right, so that's off. Now I just need to drain the plenum. So the easiest way to do that is to dry fire it. So the tank is empty, but the plenum still has air in it. All right, so now the whole air gun is degassed. So there's nothing in the plenum and there's nothing in the main tank now. So now I can start accessing the stuff that is in the back in here. So let me move the camera around and then I will start opening this up. Also really quick, I just wanted to talk about the tank. So this is one of their new tanks, and what I really like about this tank is that all of the text is black essentially, or like ghosted in here. So you don't have all of those warnings and markings and stuff kind of being all over the tank really. And so now they just have this nice FX Airguns logo. It's like a silver, and then everything else is blacked out essentially, besides this little warning symbol that kind of shows you where the text is. So I thought that was really awesome. It's really nice and clean looking. That's just a really nice touch. On my Pantera, you know, it has all those, the older style tank, and so it has all those markings on here, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I wrapped it with that Cordura. But I just thought that I would mention that. I hadn't really heard anybody talk about it, but I thought it was something that was kind of cool. So, all right, so this is the adjustable butt pad, and I'm gonna take this off. You don't need to take it off, but you can get to all of the stuff through this back hole. And something that's nice about this butt pad as well is that they molded in the locking nut into the rubber piece. And so you don't have to worry about one of those little nuts like falling off whenever you take this all the way out. So it's all contained in there, which is nice. All right, I'm gonna try to show you the best I can. I don't have the best lighting in here right now. But essentially, once you take off that butt pad, you have this opening right here. And this is where the spring tension, where your hammer spring is. And then in front of that, or above it I should say, is going to be where the pin probe is, or the pellet probe is, and all of that. So to get to that, I need to take off this cheek rest, because you can see where the start of that channel is right here, but then it's covered by the cheek piece. So let's get the cheek piece off. So it's just a couple of screws. These are all a 3mm, just like the Picatinny piece. And then there is, I'm pretty sure there was one of these that was a little bit longer. Yeah, this back one. There we go, so it just came off. But there are 3 screws that keep that cheek piece on, and then the back one that holds the very back part is the one that is a little bit longer. So just remember that they're not all 3 the same size. All right, so this is what the inside of the Leopard looks like. So when you take that cheek piece off, this is the linkage for the charging handle. So when you operate the charging handle, that is the bar that connects to the pellet probe and drives all of this back for the cocking mechanism and where your hammer spring is. And so the next part about this, I'm pretty sure the next piece to come off is going to be taking apart the inside of the hammer adjustment. So then when I take this quick adjustment system out, that spring and hammer will come out. All right, I'm just trying to kind of look around, make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, so I'm gonna undo the quick tune system or at least see if it'll come out without undoing that other piece like on the Pantera. All right, so when you take these off, it's just like the quick tune system on the Pantera where you have these two ball detents in here. So make sure you don't lose these, obviously. And the best way I've found to not lose these is to use some silicone grease, blob it on there, and then set them somewhere in a little tin so that they don't kind of roll around on me. And I have ordered a bunch of spares because I did lose one for my Pantera one time, and that really sucked. So I ordered a bunch of like random small pieces. So some of these ball detents, the little tiny springs that go in there, the ones for the safety, some of the trigger springs, stuff like that. I ordered a bunch of like boo-boo kit for my air guns, just so I have backups of stuff, because I do kind of maintain these and take them apart quite often to modify them and stuff like that. So that is one thing that I do that makes this pretty easy. So I just take a little bit of this silicone grease, blob it on my fingers, and then I'll be able to pick these out really easily. Well, typically. Usually I like to use a little bit thicker grease than this stuff. And then I will place them just in these detents on the other piece so that they don't roll around on me. And there you go. The springs typically stay in place, but again, to kind of keep those in place, what you can do is just get some silicone grease on your fingers and kind of blob it in there, and that will help keep that spring in place. You can take them out, but I haven't lost one yet by doing this system, essentially. So, sorry, I remembered that there's the piece inside of here that holds this in, and so I can't get this piece out until I take out this main bar inside of here. I'm gonna go in here and take out this really long piece, and so you can see when I'm pushing this forward, it moves that too. And then this is the piece that holds on to that little metal there with the indicator on it. So this is just like the quick tune systems on the other platforms so far. And then eventually this will come out and it should be pretty long. So there it is. This really long set screw. I just place that right inside of there. So now that I have that set screw out, I should be able to lift this out, I believe, once I undo this. Okay, there we go. Just kind of had to get stuff moving. Sorry if you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm depressing the spring this way and then lifting out. Okay. And then you have a spring that is inside that looped part, and then this is the actual micro adjuster right here. And so this spring goes inside this little tube, and you press that in, and then that's what sets inside the quick tune system. And then, like I mentioned, there's going to be this other ball detent right here, and so you want to make sure again that you don't lose that one, and there's a spring under it, obviously. So I'm going to do just what I did before, where I put some silicone grease on my fingers, and at least on the other ones as well. I never needed to take these out, but I smear some silicone grease right here, and that helps keep that in place. And so now I can take out the carrier. I just use the piece right here, and this should be the back piece where you take out that really long set screw. Okay. This is the hammer spring, and just from my observation, it does look similar to the other hammer springs. And now, here comes the hammer. Okay. All right, so this is the hammer. I'm going to weigh it and see what weight that they put in here. This does seem to be the aluminum. I don't know if this is steel or aluminum, but it is not the brass ones that are typically associated with the heavier weight ones. So let me go get my scale and weigh this hammer out really quick. So I guess I will do this in grams because I believe that the other ones are in grams as well. So this is the hammer. So basically 12 grams. So that is that. And then I'm going to measure the head. So I got my digital caliper here. Let me switch this to millimeters. Okay. So the width is basically 9.9. The length of the head is right at 6 millimeters. The shaft is 6.74. And then the length is 31.8, so almost 32 mils, and the whole thing together is 37 millimeters. So that is that measurement. The spring is 56.1 millimeters unsprung, and it is 9.7 millimeters in diameter. Okay, so now that I have those measurements, I do have some pieces from my other air guns. So let me find those. All right, so this was the stock hammer from the DRS Tactical, I believe, and this is the stock spring from the Pantera. I know it's kind of random, but it was because I put different pieces in both of those and I kind of mixed them around. So right off the bat, you can see that these are basically the same. They are the same length, same diameter, so I'm sure that that is the same. And this looks very similar to this hammer, which came out of the DRS. So let me weigh that one. So 12.15 grams, and this is the one from the Leopard, 12 grams. So this one is just slightly heavier. It might just be how it was machined, but I do see that I think this is called chamfering, the level of this angle right here on the Leopard is slightly more angled than the one in the DRS, but they look almost identical. But that part won't really matter, so I don't know if that's going to be an issue. Okay, so let me just measure this one really quick. So 6 millimeter head, 6 millimeter head. Again, the shaft was 6.7. 6.7. Total length 37.2. 37.0. Okay, so I'm almost positive that the Pantera heavier weight hammer and spring will fit in this. So that is good to know. So that is one mystery solved. The next one is going to be about that probe. So if you don't know, this is kind of what the pin probe looks like from a Pantera or DRS. But the one inside of the Leopard looks a lot different because right inside where it connects, it's actually part of the receiver, I guess you would call it in there, the bolt carrier, the hammer carrier, the probe carrier. So let's see if I can figure out how to get that out without having to undo all of the linkage and stuff. Because I really don't want to mess with that part of this. All right, so at this point I kind of poked around a little bit, and it looks like that pellet probe is part of that carrier, or whatever you want to call it. And I didn't feel confident kind of digging into it more and taking a lot of things apart because there still isn't a diagram, and I didn't want to mess anything up because I still have a bunch of things I want to test on this, different slugs, and now that I know that this is very similar to the Pantera spring and hammer, I would like to replace those and then do those tests, and I don't want to mess up anything else inside of it because, you know, I want to do all those tests. So until I get a diagram or something so I can kind of look at it a little bit before I start tearing into it, I'm just going to kind of leave it how it is at the moment. But as soon as I had found out that this is basically the same as the Pantera spring and hammer, I went ahead and ordered the aftermarket kit from Huma Air. There are a couple other places online that sell these, but they've always had them in stock pretty much. So I ordered them that night, and then they showed up about 2 days later. So this is where I'm stopping this video, but we'll have to see if this makes any difference at all, or if, you know, I'm going to end up pulling it out and going back to the stock equipment. So stay tuned, and I will get working on those, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.